Hello. Okay. Hello friends. Let's continue with our next part of the discussion. Yesterday we were on the concept of agricultural income. Agricultural income we find is exempt under section 10(1). We also discussed what all fits into the definition of agricultural income. We saw if you have a composite activity where you are earning income from agriculture and non-agriculture, then what happens? Then we have to apportion the income into two parts, agricultural and non-agriculture, applying rule 7 and rule 8 of the income tax rules. Now, though we say agricultural income is exempt from tax, in certain cases, particularly if you are individual or HUF, your agricultural income may result in some higher level of tax. So indirectly through a backdoor mechanism, the income tax is being recovered on some portion of your agricultural income. And this concept in income tax is known as aggregation of agricultural income. So क्या कहते हैं इसे? Aggregation of agricultural income. So what is this aggregation? When is it done? How is it done? So सबसे पहले एग्रीगेशन ऑफ एग्रीकल्चरल इनकम कब करते हैं? फर्स्ट थिंग, assessee should be individual, HUF or an AOP which is taxable at the slab rates applicable to individual. Second important point, your non-agricultural income, that is your taxable income, should exceed basic exemption limit. Basic exemption 2.5, 3 lakh or 5 lakh as applicable. Third basic condition, your agricultural income should exceed 5,000 rupees. अगर ये तीनों conditions satisfy होते हैं, then you have to do the calculation of income tax by a method known as aggregation of agricultural income. So the tax is computed in 3 steps. Step 1, we compute the tax on total income. Total income means your taxable income plus agricultural income. Step 2, find the tax on basic exemption plus agricultural income. So assuming your income is what? Basic exemption plus agricultural income is your total income. इसके ऊपर टैक्स निकालो. 1 minus 2 is your net tax. उसके बाद सरचार्ज, रिबेट, सेस जो भी है as applicable we will have to work out. So this concept is known as aggregation of agricultural income. Now when we are talking of this aggregation of agricultural income, to illustrate, let us say we are talking of an individual and the individual has, let us say, 7 lakh rupees income. Now let's ignore cess for the time being. Ordinarily, अगर agricultural income नहीं होता, what would be his tax liability? Just basic tax, forget cess, etc. First 5 lakh, 12,500. Next 2 lakh, 20%, 40,000. So tax would have been 52,500. Okay, subject to cess. Now let us assume he has agricultural income 3 lakh rupees. Agricultural income कितना है? 3 lakh. Now if his agriculture is 3 lakh, we compute the tax in 3 steps. Step 1, tax on total income plus agricultural income, that is on 10 lakh. 10 lakh पे tax कितना आता है? We know 1,12,500. Step 2, tax on basic exemption plus agricultural income. Basic exemption कितना है? 2.5 lakh plus 3 lakh, 5 lakh 50,000. First 5 lakh, 12,500. Next 50,000, 20%, 10,000. So 22,500 is the tax. 22,500. 1 minus 2. Net amount 90,000. So look at the main difference. If you had no agricultural income, taxable income was 7 lakh, 52,500 was your tax. Now, you have agricultural income of 3 lakh. Do you see you are paying something more? Something like 28,500 more you are paying compared to what you were paying earlier. And that is what I was trying to share with you, ki you are paying something extra, right? So, now, कितना 28,500 ही एक्स्ट्रा है ना? नहीं 37,500 एक्स्ट्रा जा रहा है टैक्स, करेक्ट? 37,500. See, the logic of agricultural income aggregation का क्या होता है? The intention is to push income which is taxable at a lower rate to higher rate. So, आपको एक आपका ओरिजिनल सिचुएशन क्या था? 2.5 लाख पे 0 था. Next 2.5 lakh was at 5%. Remaining 2 lakh was at 20%. This was the scene originally. Correct? Now what is happening? This 2.5 lakh which was taxed at 5% is being shifted to the 20% bracket by putting the aggregation. So this 2,50,000 15% difference calculate कीजिए. 2.5 lakh पे 15% कितना आता है? 37,500. Exactly the difference between the two taxes. जो 2.5 लाख 5% से टैक्स हो रहा था is getting taxed at a higher rate. So therefore the central government says we are not taxing agriculture. हम क्या टैक्स लगा रहे? On regular income, not on agriculture, only at a higher than normal rate. So you get pushed into the higher tax bracket. That is the only point of aggregation. Are we comfortable with this logic? Right? So, one illustration for you. You work out and then we'll proceed. Let us say total income 4,50,000. Agricultural income 5 lakh. Work out the total tax. 4,50,000 and 5 lakh is the agricultural income. Is ordinary citizen, no senior citizen, just regular. Yes, my friends. कितना आ रहा है फाइनल टैक्स? सब सेस वगैरह ऐड करके फाइनल फुल एंड फाइनल आंसर दे दीजिए. 41080. कितना? 41,600 है. और डिफरेंस आ रहा है दोनों का. ठीक है, देखते हैं. स्टेप 1, टैक्स ऑन 9.5 लाख टोटल इनकम प्लस एग्रीकल्चरल इनकम 12,500 5 लाख पे. रिमेनिंग 4.5 lakh, how much will be the tax? 90,000, 20% से. So basic 1,02,500. Tax on basic exemption 2.5 lakh plus agriculture 5, 7.5 lakh. 7.5 लाख पे टैक्स कितना आता है? 12,500 प्लस 50,000, 62,500. कितना बच गया? नेट टैक्स 40,000. आपका 41,080 कैलकुलेशन मिस्टेक. 40,000. All of you are wrong. Less rebate under section 87A. Taxable income, total income is not crossing 5 lakh. Can I get a rebate? I am a resident individual. Pakka rebate milega. I am eligible. So rebate is definitely available. Do not forget. Actual tax or 12,500, whichever is less. 12,500. कितना आ गया? 40 minus 12,500, 27,500 is your net tax. And on this, you will add the 4% education and health cess. 4% works out to 1,100. Total 28,600 with cess. Right. I had asked this question not for agriculture. I had asked this for rebate. See, this is exactly how an examiner fools you in the paper also. Question आप पढ़ोगे आपको लगेगा ये question is based on X. We will ask you the real question is about Y. लेकिन पैटर्न ऐसा होगा कि ऐसा लगता है यहाँ ये X concept पे question है. Actually the question is on Y concept. That is a very smart move, and trust me, CA examiners are world class. I mean, they can really create some beautiful questions to test your concepts. And day by day we are seeing one of the very major problems which has happened in the last decade particularly is there has been a lot of prevalence of these dummy articles where the students are only registering and not actually appearing in their offices. They are actually not doing work. So the problem is once these dummy articles pass as a chartered accountant, they don't know any work. And whenever they are hired for a job, what the corporate entity thinks, chartered accountants are useless. And they basically blacklist the CA degree, saying we will not hire a chartered accountant hereafter because they don't know anything. I personally am aware of one of our clients who had to take this decision. They said, फाइनेंस सेक्शन में हम एमबीए को लेंगे, बीकॉम को लेंगे, सीए को नहीं लेंगे, बिकॉज उसको ट्रायल बैलेंस भी नहीं आता बनाने को. Because that person had done 100% dummy articleship. He had never actually been to an office. So it was very sad. Because what happens is the brand CA suffers. It's not, उसकी जिंदगी खराब हो गई तो then it's not a problem. It's his problem. He has to face consequences. But one dummy article spoils the career of 100 qualified chartered accountants. Because you create a negative impression about CAs. So therefore, you will also see now at CA final, in most of the papers, wherever possible, the examiner will test you on the practical knowledge. They will ask you some questions which directly may not be in the act, but which you will have to face in real life. If you have actually done some work in the office, definitely you would know how to respond, how to reply to that question. तो ये बहुत smart provision है, the way in which the examiners are asking, and they can immediately make out. ये genuine articleship किया है तो ही ये 10 मार्क मिलने वाले, वरना ये तो 0 है इधर. So that is how they are also, directly or indirectly pinching and checking, is this articleship being done properly or not. And I can also share with you that we have cases where students have done very good articleship, and literally with a little amount of additional study they are passing easily. Because take a subject like accountancy, FR, take a subject like law, audit, direct tax, indirect tax, 5 papers. I will not say 100%, but at least 30-40% of your syllabus gets covered in the office work. Maybe you might not get exposed to all the 5 items in your office. Fair enough. अरे 8 में से 2 या 3 पेपर का भी एक्सपोजर अगर अच्छा हो गया, अज्यूम करो 40% सिलेबस लाइव आप ऑफिस में करते हो, 60% only work you have to do, 40% effort is already done, and once I have done a work in office, I never forget it. I don't have to read it again. I always know what is to be done. So I remember before my CA final exam, I was auditing and finalizing the financials of a listed company which was having a lot of AS11 adjustments. I remember I had to do a lot of research on AS11 because I had to prepare the note. The principal was supposed to fly to the audit place, and at that time he said, I have only half a day with you. Highlight the key points, we will finalize it, sign it and move. इतना ही टाइम है मेरे पास, आप ensure करो. And when he saw the presentation and all the notes, he was very happy, and we signed off that day itself. So point I'm just sharing is, till today, I have not forgotten AS11. Subject to the changes, but till today I can absolutely crystal clear remember those provisions because I had to personally do that work. And that is exactly what I say I would also like to check कि हाँ क्या आप genuinely काम करते हो कि नहीं. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked. Let's go back to our main concept. तो agriculture income आपके ध्यान में आ गया. Okay, aggregation concept is also there. A question to you. Let us say you are a worker and you are working for an entity whose 100% income is agriculture. For example, there is a partnership firm or there is a proprietorship. Only activity is large scale agriculture. उनका 1000 एकड़ का फार्मिंग का काम है. Now you are working to manage the entire farm. अच्छा आपको 10 लाख पगार है. Question. What is the character of this salary? Can you also claim the benefit of exemption under 10(1)? The company, partnership या proprietorship who is doing agriculture, 100% their income is agriculture exempt under 10(1). सवाल उनके लिए नहीं, सवाल आपके लिए है. You are working for an entity which is doing exclusively, whose 100% income is from agriculture. So will your salary also get the character of agriculture is the question. Yes? No. There is no maybe. Yes? No. Why not? So, basic point here, your answer is absolutely right that this is not an agricultural income because he is getting money on account of employer-employee relationship. The worker is not doing the agricultural activity. The agricultural activity is being done by the employer, not by the employee. And therefore, employer-employee ka income hai, it has character of salary. Non-agricultural income will be taxable. Let's modify the situation. You are a partner in a firm, 100% agriculture. Firm is doing only one activity, 1000 एकड़ का farming कर रही है, and you draw 10 lakh remuneration from the firm. We pay salary to partners. So the partnership firm has earned say 2 crore rupees net profit from agriculture this year. It decided to pay each partner 10 lakh as remuneration. Is this remuneration paid by firm to its own partners agricultural income or non-agricultural income? Will it have the character of agriculture? Will it not have the character of agriculture? Yes? Agriculture. Why? What is the difference here? Why do you feel that this is agricultural income? Yes? Absolutely right. when a partner is getting remuneration from the firm, though you call it remuneration, in substance, it is a way of sharing the profits of the firm. Right? So, if let us say 2 crore is net profit, your share is say 50%, 1 crore. If I pay you salary 10 lakh, you will get 10 lakh salary and 90 lakh share in profit. Either way you are going to get 1 crore. So, character of income is not employer-employee. Though you call it salary, though you call it remuneration, what the partner is getting is nothing but a share in profits. And therefore, for the firm if it is agricultural income, for the partner also it will have character of agricultural income. Then, let us say, tomorrow you decided to invest in a company. This company has 100% agricultural activity. तो ABC Limited के shares आपने खरीदे. The ABC Limited is doing 100% agriculture. Entire profit is from agriculture. You got dividend of 50,000 from this company. Agriculture, non-agriculture, what? Not agriculture. And you are laughing. You don't believe your answer. Why? So, here what you have to understand, what is the character of the income? I am an investor in a company. What I am getting the returns are my returns on investment. So the income I am earning is by way of investment income and not by way of agriculture. For the corporate entity it will be agriculture, but for the shareholder it is a non-agricultural income. Fine? Okay. Then my friends, before we conclude on the basics, there is one case law on page number 24. And while referring to this case law, let us be very clear. We have something very interesting. We are talking of an issue which is very commonly seen. And this issue has been one interesting product which we call as mushrooms. Mushrooms have been troubling the taxpayer and the taxman for n number of years. Question is, mushroom, is it agriculture or non-agriculture? There are people whose activity is to grow the mushrooms and sell them on a mass scale. उनका एक ही एक्टिविटी है, grow the mushrooms, sell them, right? Question आता है, is the activity of growing and selling mushrooms an agricultural activity or not? Because the argument of the department always has been that mushrooms are non-agriculture. You don't need a plot of land to grow mushrooms. Mushrooms are typically cultivated, or I will say not cultivated, produced in a small room or large room, in a room, basically in a closed room. These mushrooms are basically grown. Some soil is put in trays and the mushrooms are grown in those trays. And therefore the argument of the department always has been, where is the land? If there is no land as such, so how can we call this as agricultural income? आपके पास एक warehouse है, warehouse में आपने 1000 trays लटका के रखे, and you have put some mud or soil on it, and mushrooms are growing. This is non-agriculture. However, we have one, and I will say only one, favorable decision. Prior to this, they have always been unfavorable. But we have one favorable decision, that of the tribunal special bench. In the case of DCIT versus Inventa Industries Private Limited. Now, what was interesting, see the analysis. Mushroom is not a vegetable. It is not a plant. It is not a fruit. It is not an animal. But it is a fungus. Animal भी नहीं. क्या है ये? fungus. Anything which is produced by performing basic operations on the soil is an agricultural product. And the income therefrom is agricultural income. The nature of the product and the fact that it is not a plant, flower, vegetable or fruit is irrelevant. The only relevant aspect is whether the production is by performing some basic operations on the soil. Then, this product is raised on land, soil by performing certain basic operations. The product draws nourishment from the soil. It is naturally grown by such operation on soil which requires expenditure of human skill and labor. Products so raised has the utility for consumption, trade and commerce, and hence would qualify as an agricultural product, sale of which gives rise to agricultural income. So, I remember prior to this judgment always we had clear view from the various decisions कि it is non-agriculture. ये पहली बार और वो भी special bench का decision आ गया in favor of the assessee. But prior to this, let me be very honest, the decisions have always been unfavorable for the taxpayer. Be that as may be, let's proceed now. Okay. Now, as far as the basic introduction to taxation, we have seen two parts, the foundation concepts, and thereafter we saw the other basic terms, quick recap of who is person, individual, HUF, gross total income, assessment year, previous year, basic tax rates that we have recapped. Agriculture income bhi dekh liya. Now we have to actually begin with the main content of the syllabus. Now, how are we going to proceed? We have this chapter of income from salaries, which I leave it to you. We are not going to discuss salaries in this. Salary पे जितना सवाल पूछना था, examiner पूछ चुका है, intermediate level पे, right? So ideally, they do not ask questions on salaries. In the last 10 years, maybe 5 marks have been asked. So, with that, I will just skip this. Even house property, we have discussed thoroughly, but I will take it up at a later on stage. Directly, we are going to attack the bull by its horns. Matlab kya? We are directly going to take the core topic, the topic which supposedly and actually takes the longest amount of time, and that is profits and gains from business profession. So the beginning itself we are going to do with profits and gains from business or profession. This topic will be the beginning, the real beginning, I can say, of all our discussions. Okay. So, I know we have done business profession at C intermediate level, no doubt. But as I said, now we are going one step further. We are now at an expert level knowledge, and we need to really understand the nitty-gritties, intricacies of business profession. Basic computation तो आज भी आपको बताया तो आप 99% ठीक करोगे. But we now need to understand the advanced concepts, the tricky concepts in business profession much better than what you have done at the intermediate stage. So, profits and gains from business profession, it goes from your section 28 right up to 44 dB. It's a huge chapter, size-wise, time-wise. As I said, no other topic will take as much time for discussion as business profession. And usually, I suggest when you do the revision, I usually advise this topic should be taken last. Because this is a never-ending topic. You can revise it for 20 hours, 40 hours, 100 hours. आपको लगेगा और करना चाहिए. वो comfort नहीं आता 101%. What comfort you can get in capital gains, you don't get in business profession. So anyway, let's go now to the main concepts of business profession. Now, as I said, section 28 से लेके 44 dB तक जाएंगे. And let us now understand each of the terms one by one. First of all, this head of income we have. Now, in income tax, we have section 14. Section 14 of the Income Tax Act classifies all incomes into 5 heads of income. तो ये जो 5 हेड है, 5 हेड में आपको इनकम को ग्रुप करना है. ये कहां दिया गया है? Not here. It is given where? Before all the heads of income begin in section 14. So section 14 we are not reading as such, because all that it does, it says income should be grouped into one of these 5 heads. Which are the 5 heads? Income from salary, house property, business profession, capital gain, other sources. ये 5 head of income है. So under business profession we are talking of profits and gains of business or profession. Let's analyze what is business, what is profession. So business is defined in section 2 subsection 13. Business includes trade, commerce, manufacture. यहां तक कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. ट्रेड, कॉमर्स, मैन्युफैक्चर इज बिजनेस, पक्का, नो डिस्कशन रिक्वायर्ड. It also includes any adventure or concern in the nature of trade, commerce or manufacture. Any adventure or concern in the nature of trade, commerce or manufacture. Okay, so that's the critical part, because trade, commerce, manufacture मालूम है. The question in your mind, what is an adventure in the nature of trade, commerce, manufacture? What is a concern in the nature of trade, commerce, manufacture? The general understanding क्या है? When I do a business, assumption क्या है? There is a certain place from where I do business. There is a regularity. There is a repetition. For example, I'm giving services or I'm selling goods. But I'm doing this on a regular case. There is an intention to earn profit. But some certainty is there कि ये repeat होने वाला है. That is typical understanding. Maybe I have a shop, I have an office, I have a warehouse जहां से मैं business कर रहा हूं. But the logic of this last line, adventure in the nature of trade, is to ensure that even isolated transactions, which are not routine transactions, which may not even be connected with your core activity, but if they are done with the intention of earning profit, we can still classify them into business profession. Now, let's analyze. Let's understand this adventure or concern in the nature of trade, commerce or manufacture. Let me illustrate it by an example. Okay, rather a couple of examples to understand. Say, the iPhone 12 is going to be launched and you are very excited. You are a hardcore Apple fan. But now, you dare not ask your father any longer for the iPhone. Father says, अभी तुम CA फाइनल कर रहे हो, आईफोन क्यों चाहिए आपको? अभी तो एग्जाम लीव पे जाओगे, फोन की जरूरत ही नहीं, और आपको आईफोन 11 दे के रखा था. लेना है तो खुद के पैसे से ले लो, तुम्हारे स्टाइपेंड में बनता है तो निकाल लो. एंड देन सडनली यू कैलकुलेट, अरे बाप रे, स्टाइपेंड में तो 3 साल के स्टाइपेंड में नहीं आएगा आईफोन. सो So then, even if you deduct the petrol expenses, you are probably in the negative. तो क्वेश्चन आता है कि अभी खरीदे कैसे? So now, the phone is launched. You are excited to get your hands on it. And in India, it is officially launched. 1,40,000 rupees. आपको मालूम है, दांत निकाल के दिया तो भी मिलेगा नहीं. 1,40,000 कहां से लाएंगे? इसमें तो सेकेंड हैंड कार आएगी, 4-wheeler. So, you want to buy, because जो आदमी पागल होता है वो पागल होता है, राइट? तो अभी 1,40,000 का फोन खरीदना है. तो ये आदमी जिसको खरीदना है वो रास्ता ढूंढता है. What it says, he goes to the grey market, finds a supplier. एंड ही फाइंड्स 90,000 में फोन आता है, 1 लाख में फोन आता है, राउंड फिगर लेते हैं, फिर भी 40,000 बचता है, लेकिन 1 लाख तो भी कहां से लाना. सो देन ही गोज अराउंड आस्किंग हिज फ्रेंड्स, आईफोन चाहिए, 1,20,000 में मिलेगा. फ्रेंड्स आर हैप्पी, 20,000 डिस्काउंट में मिलेगा तो चलेगा. तो वो 5-6 दोस्तों को पकड़ता है, 1,20,000 आप दे दो, मैं फोन खरीदता हूं. सो 5 लोगों को फोन उसने बेचा, परचेस एट 1 लाख, सोल्ड फॉर 1,20,000. He got a margin of 1 lakh in which he got his own iPhone free. Now, ये तो बंदा आर्टिकल शिप कर रहा है, उसका कोई दुकान है, ABC टेलीफोन कंपनी है, ऐसा प्रणव टेलीफोन कंपनी वगैरह ऐसा कुछ है, प्रणव टेलीशॉपी, ऐसा कुछ नहीं, बिजनेस तो नहीं कर रहा. इट इज एन वन टाइम एक्टिविटी इज डन. Still, was it done with the intention of earning profit? Answer is yes. Since it was done with the intention of earning profit, even this one-off activity, one-time activity भी adventure in nature of trade मानी जाएगी. It will be taxable under the head or classified under the head business profession. So, adventure in nature of trade, as I said, need not be business itself, may be something similar to business. A single transaction can constitute adventure in nature of trade. But most important, facts and circumstances of each case will decide. इसके लिए कोई golden rule नहीं, mathematics 1 + 2 is equal to adventure, 1 + 3 is not adventure, ऐसा concept नहीं. And let me give you another illustration to tell you how fine the distinction can be. There is a doctor. 10 years ago, he had purchased a plot of land for constructing his own hospital, his own residence. But over the period of time, he realizes कि अब ये एरिया बहुत ही congested हो गया है. I do not want to construct a house out here. It will not be a peaceful area to stay. ये तो सब commercial area हो गया है. So, what the doctor says, let me sell off the plot and maybe I will buy a house somewhere else. Fine, nothing wrong. But he realizes his plot is very large. इतना बड़ा plot एक आदमी नहीं खरीदेगा. So he divides this plot into 10 parts. 10 छोटे plot बनाता है उनका. बीच में रास्ता छोड़ना पड़ेगा. Once you do plotting, he divides one big plot into 10 small plots and sells those 10 plots. It's very clear. My income I will show under which head? Capital gains, because it was never my stock or anything. ये मेरा capital gain होगा, and he files the return as capital gains. Now here is where you will face the danger of adventure in nature of trade. And one fact here and there can change the answer. Situation 1, the doctor has purchased the plot 10 years ago for own use. Today he simply, what we can say, went to the municipal office, got the layout sanctioned, and the 10 plots were identified, demarcated and sold as it is. As it is, उसने वो 10 प्लॉट बेच दी. ठीक है, मार्क किया, ये प्लॉट, ये बीच का रास्ता है, तो अभी तुम्हारा देख लो, मेरा काम खत्म. Yes, it has been held to be capital gain. Situation 2, same activity, layout sanction किया, then he constructed a fence for each plot. He did the leveling of each plot, provided water connection and electricity connection to each plot, and then sold it. Now the income tax officer says, you did all these amenity work with the intention to earn higher amount, means there is a profit motive, though it's not anything relating to your medical profession, डॉक्टर से रिलेटेड नहीं है, फिर भी ये बिजनेस है. सी द सेम ट्रांजैक्शन, थोड़े फैक्ट्स इधर उधर, एडवेंचर में जा सकता है, बिजनेस प्रोफेशन में जा सकता है, कैपिटल गेन में जा सकता है. एंड देयरफॉर व्हाट आई एम वेरी क्लियरली सेइंग, facts and circumstances of each case will decide, is it an adventure in the nature of trade or is it a capital gain or some other transaction. but the main object must be of earning profit. That object is very, very critical. Are we comfortable, my friends? Okay. Then going further, having understood business, let's talk of the word profession. Profession is defined in section 2, subsection 36. 236, we have a most hopeless definition of profession. Profession includes vocation. Stop. End of definition. यानी डेफिनेशन पढ़ने से पहले जितना मालूम था उतना ही मालूम है डेफिनेशन पढ़ने के बाद. टेल मी, इफ यू हैड नॉट रेड दिस, वॉट एवर यू अंडरस्टूड एज प्रोफेशन, अभी भी उतना ही मीनिंग है. देर इज नो वैल्यू एड. देर इज जीरो वैल्यू एडिशन बाय दिस डेफिनेशन. क्लासिक वे, एंड वी ऑलवेज लाइक दिस. सी, एज अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, बी हैप्पी. This generates disputes. This generates work for you. This will fund your children's education. So be happy. So अभी आप कितने भी गाली दे दो, अरे ये कुछ भी फालतू डेफिनेशन देते, कॉम्प्लिकेशन कर दे. Till you get those 400 marks in CA final, complication है. The day you get those 400 marks out of 800, अब एक ग्रुप की बात नहीं कर रहे, हाँ, तो एक्साइटेड हो गए. तो टिल यू गेट दोस 400 मार्क्स, दिस इज डिफिकल्ट. देयर आफ्टर विल से दिस इज प्लेजर. इसी के कारण पब्लिक को टैक्स समझता नहीं. टू गिव एन इलस्ट्रेशन, ये सेक्शन याद है 1030 ने. आई एम श्योर दिस इज वन प्रोविजन, एटलीस्ट नाम तो मालूम है. हाउस रेंट अलाउंस, HRA. लिस्ट ऑफ द फॉलोइंग 3 एग्जेम्प्ट होता है. कितना बकवास फॉर्मूला है. टेल मी, ऑर्डिनरी सैलरीड आदमी को इस जन्म में ये समझता ही नहीं. ऑब्वियसली ही नीड्स सम हेल्प, राइट? दैट्स व्हाई यू एग्जिस्ट. तो प्रोफेशन इंक्लूड्स वोकेशन. सो नथिंग इज मेंशन्ड व्हाट इज वोकेशन, नथिंग इज रियली मेंशन्ड व्हाट इज प्रोफेशन. तो व्हाट कुड बी अ वोकेशन? प्रोफेशन क्या होता है? चलो, प्रोफेशन में क्या आ सकता है? वेयर देर इज सम स्पेशलाइज्ड डिग्री ऑफ नॉलेज रिक्वायर्ड, सम skill, or what we can say training is necessary, qualification is necessary, say chartered accountant, lawyer, doctor, engineer, architect, interior designer, sportsman, all these could be classified as professions. Vocation क्या हो सकता है? Can you think of an example of a vocation? पंडित जी घर में पूजा करने के लिए आते हैं, भट जी, वो क्या है? वोकेशन. ही हैज गॉट अ स्पेशल ट्रेनिंग, इसीलिए उनको मंत्र श्लोक वगैरह सब आते हैं. इट्स अ वोकेशन. प्रोफेशन इंक्लूड्स वोकेशन. Anyway, no need to fight. You call it profession, you call it vocation, you call it business. कहां पे टैक्स करना है? PGBP, कॉमन हेड में ही जाना है. ठीक है, ओके. Now talking of some general principles as far as this head of income is concerned, business should be or profession should be carried out by the assessee. When I say carried out by the assessee, does not mean physically he should be doing it. You can appoint managers, employees, your representatives to do it on your behalf. It must be done during the year, obviously, to earn the profits. Only profits of the previous year are to be taxed, because we know in income tax, each assessment year is a watertight compartment. If the income belongs to earlier year, it is taxable, but in earlier year, not in this year. So हर एक साल एक watertight compartment होगा. And profits should be always looked at in a commercial sense. And this is something which we will see when we see a lot of case laws. कि you have to look at the business from a commercial perspective, not from income tax officer's perspective. Officer should not decide आपने business इस तरीके से चलाना चाहिए. अगर मैं होता तो ये खर्चा नहीं होता. Sorry, मैं गधा हूं. मेरा बिजनेस करने का स्टाइल ऐसा है, गधा का है. You cannot tell me how should I do business. Everybody is not a good businessman. So you have to look at business in the commercial sense and not from the tax officer's angle. Then typically for certain assets which are leased out, rented out, usually there is an interesting debate. Does that income fall under house property or does that income fall under business profession? What am I talking of? Which points are we really discussing? These are some points which we are now going to discuss. But in principle, let us talk of. I have a building. I have given the building on rent. Now, is this to be taxed under house property? Is it to be taxed under business profession? That is the simple, plain question which we are facing. कहाँ पे tax करना चाहिए? That is what we are really looking at. Now, of course, there is no ready-made answer. You have to see the actual situation, and that is what we are trying to analyze. And these matters have been so interesting that they have been debated in multiple Supreme Court judgments also. Not one, multiple. But let's talk of a situation directly connected with business. Let's not talk of a house or a shop or an office given on rent. Let's say Assisi has a factory. Okay. The factory is there with the machinery, etc. Puri factory setup hai. You are unable to continue the business due to the COVID-19. Due to lack of demand, suddenly, or lack of finance, you are not in a position to run your factory. Because you don't have the cash flow to operate. So what the management decides, कि चलो ये factory lease पे देते. Let's lease out the factory. And monthly 3 lakh rupees you are going to get. You say at least positive cash flow होगा. I don't have to bother about paying to workers, electricity, ये वो कुछ नहीं करना. I will simply get my rental income of 3 lakh. I am happy. That is the position. Okay. So in this case, is this rental income by leasing of business asset? What I am trying to share is it's not a capital investment. It's my business asset with which I was doing my business that I have given on rent. Should it be business income or should it be falling somewhere else? So here, a common test has been laid down by multiple courts saying, if all the business assets are let out, the period for which the assets are being let out becomes a relevant factor. मतलब, if the intention is कि चलो COVID-19 के कारण 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, we are not going to operate. But the target is maximum between 18 to 24 months, we will restart operations. Once the problems of economy are gone, we will then restart operations. Fine. So agreement आपसे होता है कि we will lease it out to you for 18 months up to a maximum of 24 months. उसके बाद नहीं होगा. Intention is clearly to restart operations. So when there is a temporary letting out of the business premises, of the business assets, then we will say the income falls into business profession. But the intention is to totally shut down the business operations and let it out on an indefinite period of time. Then it is no longer a business activity. Now that same income would be classified under house property. So you can see the same asset, same assessee, same tenant. Intention becomes relevant. In one case it went to house property, one case it went to business profession. Right? So it is a question, as I said, mixed question of law and facts. And therefore you have to interpret the agreement of lease very, very carefully. That is going to help you to understand कहाँ पे टैक्स करना है, कौन सी कैटेगरी में टैक्स करना है इसे. Okay. So let us now ask you questions relating to 2-3 common set of transactions. Many of the students here stay in hostels. You come to the city to do your articleship and you want to do articleship with a good firm, तो बड़ी शहर में आते हो आप, hostel में रहते हो. Now we are talking of the hostel owner. You are owning a hostel and maybe 100 students are staying in this hostel. How will you classify your income? Business profession or house property? And you have to give me the reason also. If you say business, why business? If you say house property, also think why it should be house property. I said, when you say you have to give it to me, live students will give it to me, virtual students will think aloud. क्या बोलिए दोस्तों? Running will be a hostel is business. Why? If you give it on rent, tenant will bear electricity expenses वगैरह. Okay. You can't put it into words. If you can't put it into words, you will not get marks. See, final में वही तो important है, to be able to put your answer, express your answer in words. आपको आता है वो important नहीं, examiner को समझना है कि आपको आता है. Yes. Your primary activity is renting out and earning income. Okay. Students live in hostels. It is a 1 year period. Okay. Okay. So, कहाँ पे क्लासिफाई करना है? नहीं, इनफैक्ट आप तो सब अच्छे रीजन दे रहे हो टू क्लासिफाई अंडर हाउस प्रॉपर्टी. आप ही कहते 1 साल के लिए दिया है तो मतलब तो द इंटेंशन सीम्स टू बी वेरी क्लियरली ऑफ हाउस प्रॉपर्टी. सो यू रियली हैव टू आंसर अ वेरी बेसिक क्वेश्चन. To fit into house property, we have to see, is it a plain simpliciter letting out of the building premises? Or am I doing something more? In a hostel, I am providing the accommodation. तो space तो दे रहा हूं. I am providing basic furnishing, bed, cupboard, table, chair, etc. I am providing hot water. I am providing electricity. I am providing cleaning services. All these are provided together for the amount I am charging to you. So can I say it's a plain simple giving of a room on rent? No. It's not a case कि मैंने आपसे सिर्फ रूम का किराया दिया. रूम के किराए में मैंने बहुत कुछ सर्विसेज भी दे दिए. I am giving many services along with the room also. So therefore, this activity ideally will fall under business profession and not under house property. Second one is quite simple, should not cause a challenge to you at all. Income from running a marriage hall. Come on, this is simple. Business. Why? Marriage is business. No. Then. Why is this operation of a marriage hall something which is a business? Why not house property? There is no permanence of the transaction. One-off activity per person, hopefully. Okay. Again, letting out of a marriage hall is not simply कि ये ग्राउंड है या ये हॉल है, आपको दे दिया, 2 दिन इधर कबड्डी खेलो और निकल जाओ, ऐसा नहीं है. So they will provide you the electricity, they will provide you the furniture, decoration, etc. and so many other amenities along with the hall. So that you can conduct the event out there, right? So therefore, this falls under business profession, not under house property again. I'll skip the rental income from stock. I'll come to the last point first. Income from operation of a shopping mall. Please note what I'm talking of. First understand before you blindly say this or that. I am a company. We have constructed a shopping mall. We have invested 200 crores. पूरा mall हमने construct किया है, furnish किया है. And we have now identified space. Different brands come to us, say we want 5,000 square feet, 100 square feet, 1,000 square feet. Space is blocked by them for their businesses. And terms are decided, so much amount they will pay me per month. So we are not talking of the shopkeeper who is running his business in the mall. मॉल का जो मालिक है उसकी बात चल रही है. For him, for that company which is owning the mall and getting the money from all the businesses therein, for him is it business or profession? Is it house property or business? Yes, my friends. Business. Now, why? Again, it's a case, it's not a simple plain hiring out of the space. You get so many services. The air conditioning is provided, power is provided, security is provided, parking facility is managed, cleaning is managed, and whatnot. And therefore, you will find this is a activity which is very clearly a business activity and not merely a renting of a premises. So this will also go into the head of business profession. Then we have a very interesting point, rental income from stock in trade. Let me explain. Real life situation. You are a builder. You launched a project of 200 flats. 160 flats were booked. Thereafter, this corona happened, and post COVID-19, nobody came to book a flat. Now your flats are ready. I'm not talking of the 160. Remaining 40 flats are ready to use, but there is no customer, and you can foresee और एक आध साल तो कोई कस्टमर नहीं आने वाला. Okay. So now you are worried. I have invested in these 40 flats. These are my stock, but I am unable to recover any money from anybody today. So you did a smart move that in the meantime, till I find buyers, let me give these flats on rent. किराए पे देता हूं. And whatever rent I will earn will at least compensate me for the interest cost which I have incurred by investing here. I will at least recover some revenue. Customer आ गया, so I can maybe, do the repainting of the house and sell the flat as a brand new flat. Fine. Absolutely very common position. Now we are looking at this question from the builder's angle. Is this income fit into business or profession, into business or house property? See, you and me, we let out a flat, clearly house property. Question we are asking for builder is because builder has this flat held as stock in trade. That is why the question is there. Otherwise problem था ही नहीं इसमें. Yes. Business. Why? Intention is not to give it on rent. Ultimate intention is to sell. So you should classify it under business profession. Okay. The Supreme Court doesn't agree with you. And they say to get covered under section 22. 22 is the charging section of house property. The annual value of any building or land appurtenant thereto, of which you are owner and not used for your own business profession, is chargeable under house property. Okay. Now, am I using this stock for my business profession? My business is to construct and sell and not to construct and let out. Construction and letting out is not my business. Construction and sale is my business. And therefore the court said, this is a simple plain letting out. You are not using it for your business, and therefore we will classify this under house property. Okay. But then we have another situation, let us say. I am a builder and I decide I will construct a building with 100 offices, and my intention of building is clearly to give it on rent. The object of creating this entity itself was to give the buildings on rent and earn rental income. So my activity itself would be renting. That is my intention. So therefore now the question comes, in such cases what to do? And that is where we have a very interesting Supreme Court judgment of Chennai Properties and Investments, in which the letting out of properties, would it be held as treated as business profession or as income from house property? Here also something very interesting, the observation of the Supreme Court was, the mere entry in the object clause showing a particular object would not be deciding factor. First day we discussed object clause is not relevant. Merely in the object you write the business of letting out of properties is not sufficient. Each case has to be looked from a businessman's point of view to find out whether letting was the doing of a business or the exploitation of his property by an owner. So, are you really doing a business? Is your business itself of letting out? Or merely you are an investor, you are owning a building or a property and you are giving it on rent? You have to look at the facts. Do not be guided by what is given in the memorandum or in your articles. Right? So, object clause is not going to be deciding. Court said that whenever there is a letting out of property and the collection of rent, the assessment on property basis may be correct, but not so where letting or subletting is a part of trading operation. So, what is very interesting is Supreme Court has given a clear opinion. It is not automatically business. It is not automatically house property. The conduct of the taxpayer, the way in which he is running the activity will decide whether this can qualify under business profession or whether this can qualify under house property. So, I cannot give you a blanket answer, this is always business or always house property. Facts of the case will have to decide, and that is exactly what Supreme Court ultimately said. Conduct of the businessman is going to be important. See the second last line out here in your material, page 65. The dividing line is difficult to find, but in case of a company with its professed objects and the manner of its activities and nature of its dealings with the property, it is possible to say on which side the operations fall and to which head the income is to be assigned. So they say, आपके objects क्या बोलते हैं, आपका conduct क्या बोलता है, दोनों को जोड़ के, if we look at the transaction in a joint manner, yes, we can come to a conclusion it is either business or either it is house property. But case to case basis. There is no blanket rule, automatic business or automatic house property. Right? So, in income tax, this is exactly what we call as the gray area, where the facts are going to decide, and it is not a certainty that always your decision may be correct. Sometimes we may think it is business, but it may be actually house property or vice versa. Both can happen. See, typically क्या होता है? If you classify it under house property, you get that 30% standard deduction without doing anything. If you show it under business, you will get interest deduction, you will get the depreciation, which otherwise is not available. We can get expenses. So, the businessman or the taxpayer is very smart. For 3 years, he liked house property. From 4th year, he says, nahi, abhi ye business hai. This is the problem. And that is where the officer will say, last year tak house property mein bataya, aaj se business mein bata rahe ho. या कल तक बिजनेस था, आज से हाउस प्रॉपर्टी बता रहे हो, अभी आपका डेप्रिसिएशन कम हो गया तो हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, बिकॉज नाउ यू विल गेट 30% स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन, एंड दैट इज वेयर ऑल दिस केस लॉस गेट जनरेटेड, बिकॉज द असेसी डेफिनेटली हैज डन सम मिस्चिफ. आप ऑफिसर से पंगा नहीं लोगे तो केस लॉ बनेगा कहां से, राइट? ओके, so with that background, let's now go to the charging section, the charging section of business profession, which is section 28. The charging section of any head will tell you which income is supposed to be taxed under this head. So section 28, what all does it say? 28 Roman 1 covers 99.9% of all income to be taxed under this head. Remaining clauses which we'll see from 28 Roman 2 up to 7 are all the specific charging clauses. Matlab, these clauses have been brought in to cover some loopholes, some case laws, some cases where the court has held this is not taxable, or to cover up some situation in other laws, they have brought in the other clauses. So first and foremost, clause 1, what it says: profits and gains of any business profession carried on by the assessee at any time during the previous year. So what is to be covered under business profession? Profits, gains of any business profession carried out during any time during the previous year. That's why I said 99.9% of your income ideally will get hit by clause 1. Remaining clauses are the special incomes, and therefore we need to look at them very carefully. 28 Roman 2. Any compensation or other payments relating to termination or modification of terms and conditions of management of business, a contract relating to agency for business activity, any contract relating to his business. So let us understand what we are talking of. Let us say assessee is having a sole selling agency of a particular product. You are appointing as a sole selling agent for the entire state of Maharashtra except Mumbai. मुंबई छोड़ के पूरे महाराष्ट्र का सोल सेलिंग एजेंसी आपके पास है. So you are looking at entire territory of Maharashtra. You have more than 5,000 retailers who are working under you, to whom you are supplying the goods. Over the 20 years, you have developed a big chain of retailers. One fine day, company says the market is growing fast, but we find you are unable to manage the entire territory. So आपके पास जो एजेंसी है, we would like to reduce the territory. We'll divide Eastern Maharashtra, Western Maharashtra. Eastern Maharashtra territory you keep, Western Maharashtra we will give to somebody or something like that. यानी आपका बिजनेस कम होगा. आपकी एजेंसी समझो 25 डिस्ट्रिक्ट के लिए, अभी वो सिर्फ 12 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स के लिए आपकी एजेंसी चलेगी. Obviously now the agent is very unhappy. He says my 20 years of efforts have gone into developing this chain. And now suddenly half of it you are going to give ready-made to somebody else. So, court matter हो सकता है, and there can be unnecessary litigation. The company is smart. They say, okay, we understand that there will be some loss to you. We are ready to pay you 50 lakh compensation. If you agree to modify your original agency agreement. If you sign on the revised agency agreement, आपको हम 50 लाख रुपए compensation दे रहे हैं. ठीक है? Now they are ready to give you this compensation. Such a compensation will fit into business profession. This compensation gets classified here. Or termination, modification of any contract relating to his business. So if there is any contract relating to your business which gets cancelled and you get a compensation from the other party, it will also be taxable as business income. Ideally it should be, but there have been case laws which have held कि ये business income नहीं है या income ही नहीं है. It's a capital receipt. It has been held in some cases. So they said, wait, tax it. Because you can use that story of roots. Source of income is going. Source is going and therefore this is a capital receipt. How will you tax it? To overcome those judgments, 28(2) exists. Are you with me now? So these could be capital receipts, these could be revenue receipts. But in either case, they are taxable under business profession. 28 Roman 3. We have referred to this when we talked of the principle of mutuality. Any income derived by a trade, professional and similar association from specific services performed for its members. Trade professional association usually is a mutual entity. Members contribute fees. Fees are spent for benefit of all. Surplus remains is exempt on principle of mutuality. But if the professional association, trade association gives specific services to one particular member, it will be treated as income of this association, not protected by mutuality. Comfortable? Then you have 28, 3A, 3B, C, 3D, 3E. These 5 subclauses simply can be explained in 2 words, different types of export incentives. Of course, some of them have been scrapped also already. But still, some of these have already been scrapped. But still, for simplicity purpose, let us commonly call these as what? Export incentives. Profit on sale of import entitlement, cash subsidy, excise and customs duty drawback, profit on sale of DPB, profit on transfer of DFRCs. All these are known as export incentives. Now say I am an exporter. I exported goods for 100. Though my cost is 105, I am exporting them for 100 because I know government is going to give me 15 rupees incentive. So I will still earn 10 rupees. Why government is giving me incentives? So that our products become competitive in the international market. So indirectly government is compensating me for the loss I am suffering. Isn't it a part of my business receipts? So somebody should not claim ये तो government की मदद है, not taxable. Sorry. It is very much taxable as a part of business income. That brings us to 28 Roman 4. 28.4, the value of any benefit or perquisite, whether convertible into money or not, arising from the carrying out of your business or exercise of a profession. Now, as a salaried employee, you have perquisites. Like you can get a free accommodation or motor car or food facility, canteen facility, travel benefits and all that. But what could be a benefit or perquisite you can earn while carrying out your business or profession? Tell me. When you are carrying out a business, when you are carrying out a profession, कौन सा perquisite आप कमा सकते हो? Can you think of anything which you can earn as a perquisite or a benefit in the course of your business or in the course of your profession? What happened? You are unable to visualize. इसमें कुछ भी आ सकता है. आपसे इंटरमीडिएट का डिस्कशन भूल चुके हो. It was long time ago. Let us say I am a businessman. My supplier gives me a scheme. He says this is the month of September, off season hai. If you buy 25 lakh rupees of goods from us in this month, 50 lakh of goods in this month, whatever target they will give you, then you will get a 4-day trip to Singapore free of cost. So, he is not giving me discount. He is giving me a free foreign tour. So, if I achieve a target set by my supplier, I will be allowed to have a free travel, leisure travel for a period of whatever, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, jo bhi hai, as the case may be. That free travel I am going to enjoy. Now, if I'm going to get that free travel, isn't that a benefit amenity on account of carrying out the business? Or someone might say, okay, if you achieve this, if you purchase so much goods from us in this month, then you will get a motorcycle from our company free of cost. So again, this is a benefit or perquisite while carrying out your business or profession. Now, this is very much taxable. But the sad part is, most people do not offer this to tax. और प्रॉब्लम इसका ऐसा होता है कि देर इज नो एंट्री इन द अकाउंट्स. से योर कंपनी टुक यू टू से सिंगापुर फॉर 4 days, 5 days, whatever it is. 100% they said door to door we will bear the cost. मतलब पुणे टू सिंगापुर एंड बैक, घर तक पूरा खर्चा हम देख लेंगे, आपको कुछ करना नहीं. फाइन. सो अकाउंट्स में एंट्री कुछ आती नहीं. एंटायर एक्सपेंस इज बोर्न बाय द वेंडर. But you are supposed to tax it. 28(4) में. You will have to find what is the value of that trip in rupee terms and offer that to income tax. Those of you who have done tax audit, in form 3CD, there is a question. Amount chargeable under 28 Roman 4. वो हमेशा नील होता है. लेकिन आपने कभी देखा नहीं, क्योंकि उधर नंबर नहीं था. So you have read the right hand side, you have never read the left hand side वाला item. 28(6), 28(4), है ना? I know both of you have done tax audits. And from your faces I realize that you have never even read this line. Amount to be taxed under 28(4), it is there in your 3CD. So you understand? Copy paste वाला काम होता है. Anyway, so अब प्रॉब्लम क्या आता है कि दिस मनी गेट्स टैक्स्ड. और ये टैक्स कब होता है? असेसिंग ऑफिसर इज वेरी स्मार्ट. व्हाट ही डज, ही सेंड्स अ नोटिस टू दिस बिग वेंडर्स जिधर सेल्स प्रमोशन एक्सपेंसेस आर ह्यूज इन क्रोर्स. गिव अस डिटेल्स ऑफ योर सेल्स प्रमोशन टूर्स, फॉरेन टूर्स विच यू हैव गिवन टू योर customers. They get the entire list from them. Then they will send inquiry notices to you. Have you shown this in your ITR? And obviously 99.9 answer आता है no. And that is when they will start the assessment proceedings and tax that income. और जब टैक्स होता है तो टैक्स, इंटरेस्ट, पेनल्टी, एवरीथिंग लग जाता है. And things become very bad. And the businessman is very unhappy with the company. He says, आपके कारण टैक्स लग गया. वो 50,000 की सिंगापुर ट्रिप मिली, लेकिन आपको 1 लाख रुपए टैक्स लगा. बिकॉज दे फाइंड यू 200%. सो नाउ यू आर इन बिग ट्रबल कि दिस इज रॉन्ग. एंड यू ब्लेम होम, नॉट द इनकम टैक्स. यू ब्लेम द कंपनी, सप्लायर जिसने आपको ये फ्री ट्रिप दी. एंड यू कम टू कंक्लूजन, अभी मुझे फ्री ट्रिप करनी ही नहीं, इसके बाद मुझे टारगेट अचीव ही नहीं करूंगा. So it goes in the opposite direction. So now you are the company, you come to me and say, sir, problem है, ट्रिप तो देनी है, टैक्स नहीं लगना है. We want to give the trips, we want to give the incentives, but we want to ensure it is not taxable in the hands of our dealers. And we should get a deduction also as business expense. How is it possible? We get a deduction and that person doesn't get taxed legally. I said, no problem. We'll structure a scheme. Now, I say, no problem. This time, if your dealer reaches a target of 25 lakh, he will be invited for the silver level dealers conference at Singapore. If he reaches a target of 50 lakh, gold dealers conference in South Africa. ऐसे में अलग अलग स्कीम दे दूंगा. And now, tomorrow if officer asks you, आप साउथ अफ्रीका जाके आए? हाँ. क्यों गए थे? काम से गए थे. My vendor wanted to launch and display and give us training about his new products, for which he took us in South Africa. Apparently वहां की रोशनी में ज्यादा अच्छा दिखता है उनका प्रोडक्ट, एंड ट्रेनिंग वहां अच्छा होता है. सो दैट्स व्हाई ही टुक अस देयर. सो I did not go for pleasure. This was purely a business trip. There is no benefit, no perquisite, therefore not taxable. Yes. That is how this works. FBT जो है, Fringe Benefit Tax, इसी के लिए लाया था. इसको छोड़ के सब टैक्स किया. Anyway, that is 28 Roman 4. 28 Roman 5. 28 Roman 5 says, if you are a partner in a partnership firm, then any interest, salary, bonus, commission or remuneration received from your own partnership firm is your income under business profession. I am a partner in a firm, I get salary. It is not taxable under salary, but taxable under PGBP. I get interest on my capital, not other sources, taxable under business profession. But very important point you have to read. It is income to the extent allowed as a deduction to the firm. See, the partnership firm in its P&L has shown, say, 10 lakh remuneration to partners. Allowed, because you know allowed is as per percentage of book profits. Allowed is 8 lakh. So though your capital account shows by remuneration from firm 10 lakh, you will be showing in the computation 8 lakh. जितना deduction firm को मिलेगा, same amount will be taxed to partner, not more amount. So the entry in the books may be of a higher value. What will be taxable to the partner? The actual deduction allowed to the firm will be taxable in the hands of the partner. 28 Roman 5. And of course the character is business profession. Fair enough. 28.5a. 28.5a is what we call commonly as non-compete fees. Non-compete fees. What about non-compete fees? Any sum agreed, received or receivable in cash or kind under an agreement for not carrying out any activity in relation to any business or profession. Stop here. Both examples we have seen earlier. Contractor का example, फिर वो doctor का example पढ़ा था, right? Both we have discussed non-compete fees, capital or revenue. It was capital, but it is taxable under business profession. Supreme Court of India held this is a capital receipt. It is not chargeable under capital gain and cannot be taxed anywhere. So to overrule Supreme Court, they brought in 28.5a. So ये था first part, but let's read the second part of the line. Any sum received or receivable in cash or kind for under an agreement for what? Not to share, for agreeing what? Not to share any know-how, patent, copyright, trademark, license, franchisee or any other business or commercial rights of similar nature or information. Let me explain. Say, a very interesting chemical product, or other I will say a very special chemical is being patented by a foreign company, a Canada-based company. This chemical, if mixed with tar, will ensure that my road can be repaired even under full rain. Normally कैसा होता है, रेन अगर आता है, potholes को आप बंद नहीं कर सकते because the tar doesn't stick. ये chemical डाला तो even in rainy season you can repair the road. Okay, In the world, only this Canadian company has the patent. You are a company, you say we would like to start a plant in India to manufacture this. You approach the Canadian company, you say we want a license to use your technology. And we will pay you a royalty of so much percent of sale. So agreement hota hai 2% of our sale we will pay you as royalty. Okay. Now you are going to set up a plant of 50 crore rupees here to manufacture all this. But now you are worried. Tomorrow if the Canadian company gives a license to somebody else in India, they can do so. No problem. So you make an agreement with the Canadian company. We will also pay you X amount, say 2 crore today upfront. If you agree not to share this license, this technology with anyone in India for 10 years. 10 साल तक आप शेयर मत करो, उसके बाद आप दे सकते हो, लेकिन 10 साल तक इंडिया में we will have a monopoly. Fine, no problem. This is also non-compete fees. Will it be taxable? Yes, under which head? Business profession. Taxable under the category of business profession. Clear, my friends? 20/6. Any money received under a Keyman insurance policy, including bonus. So let me quickly touch upon the planning which used to happen in Keyman, because this will be relevant throughout our entire syllabus. Other sources may be relevant hoga, exemptions may be relevant hoga. Today, life insurance policy, when it matures, entire amount what you get back is exempt under 1010D. For example, एक life insurance policy में I have paid till today 10 lakh over the last 25 years. Policy matures maybe due to the time or maybe due to the death, and you get 25 lakh rupees today. 25 lakh is exempt under 1010D, completely exempt, right? This was the position, it is there today also. Then, the Life Insurance Corporation of India in those days, they launched the Keyman insurance policy. Keyman insurance का concept क्या था कि today every big organization, they will have 1 or 2 key persons who, if they leave the company or if they die, business could get disrupted. So how does a company protect itself from the loss of key persons? अभी इसको बोल नहीं सकते you have to live for 150 years. Person will become old, may not be able to work, may retire, may even leave the job, right? So how to protect the company? Company says this fellow is very critical, और ये गया तो करोड़ों का लॉस हो सकता है till we get a suitable replacement. So company says we will insure this key person for 20 crores. Whenever he retires or dies, company will get 20 crore. Today company pays the premium, and if this person dies or retires, company will get back 20 crore. So today when I pay the money, I am claiming it as a business expense. Logically when I get it back should be business income. But then Life Insurance Corporation of India marketed this policy as a super tax planning tool. They said when you pay, you will get a deduction. When you get it back, exempt under 1010D. So, people took out policies where the premiums were in crores. Premium was in crores. आज प्रॉफिट 5 करोड़ से कम करना है, 5 करोड़ की पॉलिसी निकाली, 5 करोड़ प्रीमियम वाली पॉलिसी, 5 साल भरो 25 करोड़ भरा, 25 करोड़ से प्रॉफिट कम हो गया, कल जाके आपको 30 करोड़ मिला टैक्स फ्री. You got back everything but tax free. Beautiful planning. Until income tax realized it's our very own LIC. That time there were no even private companies, were not even in existence. It is our very own LIC which is doing this marketing. और चुना लग रहा है इनकम टैक्स को. Then they amended 1010D to say amount received on maturity of Keyman insurance is not exempt, taxable hai. And they amended 3 sections. They amended section 17, they amended section 28, they amended section 56. 17 salary, 28 PGBP, 56 income from other sources. And they amended these 3 heads, I will say, to say amount received against Keyman insurance policy is taxable. Now, ideally, I am the businessman. I pay Keyman insurance, business expense. I get back the Keyman insurance money, business income. I pay the money as a businessman, I claim a deduction, but tomorrow I assign the policy to my employee and employee gets the money. Taxable under salary. I do some other planning and it is not taxable under business, not taxable under salary. Don't worry, other sources. So at one time, 4 amendments came in to ensure the Keyman insurance policy is fully taxable. Clear on this, my friends? After 28.6, we have 28.6a. A very recent, I will not say very recent, most recent addition to the family of section 28. A draconian amendment to say the least. No other words I have. Draconian amendment. It is going to cause a lot of hardship. Is already causing a lot of hardship. And let me just explain. Before I go to 28.6a, I need to bring to your attention just a quick recap, very basic recap of section 45, subsection 2. बापरे, ये कहां से आया? कौन सा हेड है 45.2? कैपिटल गेन्स. कैपिटल गेन में एक प्रोविजन है 45.2 which says if you convert a capital asset into stock in trade, then there is a deemed transfer and we will compute your capital gain assuming fair market value on the date of conversion as full value of consideration. So today I have a plot of land. I purchased it for 100, held as a capital asset. I converted into stock. That day fair market value was 140. 140 minus 100, 40 lakh capital gain is deemed to be taxable in my hands. ये कहां पे है? Capital gain में. So for decades this section is there, 45.2, saying conversion of capital asset into stock in trade is taxable in the hands of the converter. ठीक है? But there was no provision in income tax to tax the reverse case. What if I have stock in trade? I convert my stock in trade into capital asset. Capital asset to stock 45.2 tha. Stock in trade to capital asset, there was no section. And when you have done your CA Inter, I don't think this section was there. 28.6a नहीं था. तो 28.6a अब आ गया. Now what it was brought in to exactly have the reverse amendment, reverse taxation. मतलब I have a stock. Today this stock I am converting into my capital asset. They say we are going to tax this transaction but under business profession, not under capital gain. और वो कैसे? That is what we are going to try and understand. 28.6a says fair market value of the inventory as on the date on which it is converted into or treated as a capital asset determined in the prescribed manner. So what they are saying, business income will include what? Fair market value of the inventory as on the date on which it is converted into or treated as a capital asset. So, to give you an illustration, let us say you are a builder. The scheme is over. You have in your stock one office which you have constructed for 100 lakh cost. Stock is shown as at cost. 100 lakh cost का एक office आपके पास बचा है. And you decide, let me not sell this one office. Let me use it for my own office. हमारा जो existing office है, इससे this is a much better location, much better space is there. Let us use this for our own self. We are not going to sell it. So, this stock which is there, office is held in stock today. Moment I started using as my registered or my head office, what will happen? I have actually converted my stock into a capital asset. Before this amendment, I could do it any time, and we were actually doing it. We were passing the entry, fixed asset, office account, debit 100 to stock 100. Because there was no profit loss. मैंने किसी को बेचा नहीं था. It was my own property. Only instead of showing it as stock, I am now showing it as a fixed asset. There was zero taxation there. 100% logical. कुछ गलत भी नहीं था. But now they say, wait. Fair market value of this office on the day you convert it into capital asset. Let us say fair market value is 150 lakh. Will be treated as income. Doesn't mean 150 पे tax भरना है. Because see, 100 is already debited. But if you only plainly read the line, ऐसा लगता है 150 is income. That is not the correct case because the stock will be shown to the debit of P&L. Instead of sale value, you will be crediting fair market value. 150 will be credited to P&L. So effectively, 50 will be notional profit, really taxed. And now the builder is in serious trouble because he says, मुझे तो 1 रुपया नहीं मिला, 50 लाख पे 30% आप 15 लाख टैक्स ले रहे हो मुझसे. So he is going to land up in a cash flow problem for no fault of his. उसकी कोई गलती नहीं है, but he will land up paying a tax on this. Did you understand part 1 of this transaction? There is a part 2. Or a part 3 also. क्या है? Because this has to be understood in totality. Now, builder says, कल तक ये stock था, आज मेरा fixed asset है. I should get depreciation. Logical, 100% logical. So for depreciation, what will be the actual cost? Because I have really spent only 100, I converted it into 150. If I go to definition of actual cost, section 43.1, 43.1 तो कहता है actual cost spent and actual cost is gone 100. लेकिन मैंने तो 50 पे टैक्स भरा है. So they have added one explanation to section 43.1 saying actual cost will be the fair market value on the date of conversion. मतलब you will get depreciation on 150, not on 100. Which is logical. This is a matching benefit which they have granted, which is correct. Otherwise it would be absurd. Same way, alternatively, what if I was going to sell the capital asset tomorrow and I was going to calculate capital gain? What would be treated as cost of this capital asset? 150. The fair market value on conversion would be cost of acquisition of this capital asset. Again, very, very logical. Things become more interesting Because this was one example, and you can see this is something which can happen regularly. ये तो builder का example लिया. Take another case. Take a case of Tata Motors. Tata Motors is manufacturing trucks. Okay. Now, उनका कैंपस कितना बड़ा है आपने कभी देखा है मालूम नहीं. कैंपस इज सो ह्यूज दैट विदाउट अ व्हीकल यू कैन नॉट गो फ्रॉम वन पार्ट ऑफ द कैंपस टू द अदर. ह्यूज. नाउ टाटा मोटर सेज out of the thousands of trucks we manufacture, these 20 trucks we will manufacture but use them within our factory premises for transportation of material within the factory. तो फैक्ट्री की एक एरिया से दूसरी एरिया में उनका मटेरियल भी बड़ा बड़ा होता है, हेवी मटेरियल होता है. टू मूव इट, व्हाई बाय अ ट्रक? वी आर मेकिंग द ट्रक्स. सो आवर ओन ट्रक्स विच वी आर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फॉर सेल, instead of keeping them as stock, we will convert them into a capital asset. Again, what Tata Motors will have to do, you understood now? Cost of the 20 trucks is there to the debit, credit, fair market value, difference will be business income. That will be liable to tax. You are a machinery manufacturer. You manufacture machines for your customers. You realize you need one more machine. So you also make a machine for your own self. Again, same principle would apply. What you manufactured as a stock could now become your capital asset. Again, 28(6)(a) could apply. Take another interesting situation, and the real reason why this section is here: shares and securities. Shares and securities. I am holding shares as stock in trade. I convert them into capital asset. And later on, after 1 year, I used to sell them. See, today I have shares worth say 100 crores stock. I convert them into capital asset. Before this section came, I would say cost is still 100. Tomorrow I sell them for 150. After 1 year, I would get the benefit of long-term capital gain. Further, that time it was exempt also. बहुत बदमाशी होती थी. Now they say, wait. You have stock of 100. You converted this stock. You say, आज से मेरा trading business बंद. I am stopping trading in securities. I am converting them into investment. Today the fair market value is 120. 120 minus 100, on that 20 you will have to pay tax today. So I hope this 28(6) is very clear with you. It's a very interesting provision, but yes, you have to see the application, kahan apply hoga, and then you realize, yes, this is not something which is odd. In maybe half of our clients' cases, this is a very common sort of a transaction which can happen. Of course, in most cases, it is never done with any tax planning intention. It is actually a business necessity. But for some reason, tax authorities thought this is a loophole and they have brought in this amendment. But this causes problem. अभी टाटा क्या कहेगा, मैं तो ये ट्रक बेचूंगा नहीं. But I have to pay tax on a profit which I have not earned and I will never earn. Because whenever I will sell it, इसकी value will be 10% of the normal sale price. So I will never really earn this money, but I will still have to pay tax on this. Very practical issue. Can't help it. And last of the charging clauses, 28(7). Any amount received on account of the demolishing, destruction, discarding or transfer of a capital asset, if the whole expenditure on the capital asset is allowed as a deduction under 35(a)(d). Now 35(a)(d), I am not going to go into this section right now, but principally section 35(a)(d) क्या कहता है? If you are doing certain businesses and you do the capital expenditure other than land, goodwill and securities, then 100% deduction. So imagine I bought machinery worth 100 lakh for the eligible business. First year itself 100 lakh deduction मिलेगा. 28.7 कहता है whenever you sell it, sale value is business income. Logical. Because if I sell it for 5 or 500, it has to be my business income in that case. Okay. Then, sorry, excuse me. Going further, we find that when we are talking of the salary, when we are talking of business profession, you come across this word speculation time and again. Now, when I do a business, my business may be an ordinary business, my business may be a speculation business. दोनों तरीके का business हो सकता है, right? I can have business of both varieties, the normal as well as speculative. Speculation का मतलब क्या है? And why is it important that we need to classify a transaction into normal or speculation? We need to understand. So, what is a speculative transaction? So you find, as far as speculation is concerned, there is a section 43 subsection 5 which defines a speculative transaction. It has been defined to mean a transaction in which a contract for purchase or sale of a commodity, shares, stocks is periodically or ultimately settled other than actual delivery. Delivery देना नहीं, लेना नहीं. That is considered to be speculative transaction. So what is speculative transaction? Where you can be buying or selling commodities, shares, stocks, but transaction is settled without giving or taking delivery. Now principally what this means, let us say the person wakes up in the morning, his friend has called him. Friend is a person who is having some good inside information about a certain company. Friend आपको फोन करता है, सुबह सुबह फोन करता है 6 बजे, आज जैसे मार्केट खुलेगा रिलायंस खरीदो, घर बेच के खरीदो. इतना कॉन्फिडेंस, क्या? घर बेच के खरीदो, इतना खरीदो. ओके फाइन. अभी 100% ट्रस्ट है कि ये आदमी गलत कभी बोलेगा नहीं मुझे. फाइन. सो यू वेक अप, टेल द ब्रोकर 1 लाख रिलायंस आई वांट टू बाय, रेट 2000 है आज, तो कितना हो गया? 20 करोड़ हो गया. खरीदो अभी. क्या? तो ब्रोकर बोलता है ठीक है बाय करता हूं. 20 करोड़ का ट्रांजैक्शन है, फिर भी वो बोलता है डन. बट ही प्लेसेस द ऑर्डर 2000 में, यू बाय रिलायंस, एंड एज योर फ्रेंड प्रेडिक्टेड सम न्यूज कम्स एट 10:30, ऑफिशियल न्यूज कम्स फ्रॉम द कंपनी, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट न्यूज सडनली द शेयर गोस अप बाय से 50 रुपीज. 2000 का 2050 होता है. इमीडिएटली एट 11 यू टेल द ब्रोकर सेल इट ऑफ, और जो डिफरेंस है 50 लाख का वो मुझे दे दो. बिकॉज आपके पास 20 करोड़, क्या आपका पगार है 50,000, 20 करोड़ तो घर क्या पूरा कॉलोनी बेचा तो भी नहीं आएगा. तो देयरफॉर योर एंटायर इंटेंशन वाज नेवर टू टेक डिलीवरी, सो यू वांटेड टू बाय एंड सेल ऑन द सेम डे and take the margin as a profit. Correct? Of course, इसमें उल्टा भी हो सकता था, उल्टा भी हो सकता था, and invariably उल्टा होता है. और ये जो न्यूज होती है ना, वो बहुत खतरनाक होती है. And people like to gamble, people like to bet a lot for easy money. I remember एक टैक्स ऑडिट सीजन चल रहा था. One of the clients came. It was 27th or some 28th and 30th को टैक्स ऑडिट ड्यू डेट था. ये भाई साहब का अभी ऑडिट शुरू भी नहीं हुआ था. जेंटलमैन इज हैप्पी, सर लाख रुपए की बेट लगाता हूं. फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर से बात हो गई हमारे लोगों की, डेट एक्सटेंड है पक्का. मैं बोला देख भाई, सच्ची में बेट करनी है क्या? मरेगा तू. 1 लाख मुझे नहीं देना पड़ेगा, गवर्नमेंट को देना पड़ेगा. पेनल्टी भरनी पड़ेगी। क्या कॉन्फिडेंस सर, मैं 2 तारीख को आऊंगा, अभी गांव जा रहा हूं, और डेट एक्सटेंड नहीं हो गई। सो पॉइंट हियर इज दैट इज एब्सोल्युटली स्टुपिडिटी। लेकिन लोगों को कॉन्फिडेंस होता है, जब वो गैम्बलिंग करते हैं तो कॉन्फिडेंस इतना होता है कि अब तो सही है। एंड द सैड पार्ट इज you lose something, you try to gamble more to recover that loss. You make more loss and you get caught in that circle until you decide to jump from 10th floor of some building. Anyway, but I hope speculation word is clear. But to section 43(5), there is some exception. There are few transactions which we are calling as exceptions, in the sense, if your transaction fits into these categories, though it is really speculation, though there is no delivery, it is not speculative transaction. Let's read the first 2 together. Read them carefully. Contract for raw material to guard against loss through future price fluctuations. Contract for shares, stocks by a dealer or investor to guard against loss in holdings by price fluctuations. क्या है ये? Absolutely correct. These 2 transactions popularly in your SFM, what do you call these as? Hedging transactions. So if you carry out a hedging transaction, it is not speculative. Beautiful to say in theory. I challenge you to prove it to income tax officer. Officer says, आपका स्टेटमेंट बताता है परचेस सेल सेम डेट मार्जिन इतना है. It is speculation. Your intention was there to hedge. How do you prove? How do you prove? That is the critical problem. Prove कैसे कर पाओगे? You are not in a position to prove this unless you have proper documentation. अगर आपके पास documentation होगा तो ठीक है. Documentation नहीं है तो there is a problem. And many times how can you prove your thoughts by a documentation also? It becomes a big challenge. It's very nice. Theory में मुझे पढ़ाने में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. Hedging transactions are not speculation. आप प्रैक्टिस में आ जाइए. आपके क्लाइंट का ये 10 करोड़ का ट्रांजैक्शन लेके जाइए सामने and then prove. Problem. Second is jobbing or arbitrage transactions by a member of a forward market. You have these people who are known as jobbers and arbitragers. So that activity is not to be treated as speculation because this is a special business activity itself. The next 3 are interesting because they work somewhat similar. Eligible transaction of trading in derivatives subject to STT. So derivative trading is non-speculative. This probably is the biggest joke of the century. Derivative is hardcore, pure, raw speculation. There cannot be a better example of speculation than derivatives. But that time it was Mr. Chidambaram who was the finance minister and he wanted these derivatives to become popular. So that is why they brought in the amendment saying that derivative trading is not speculation. Today 99% of speculation is derivative. But that you don't classify as derivative but as a normal transaction. Eligible transaction of trading in commodity derivatives carried out in a recognized association subject to CTT, Commodities Transaction Tax. Last one, eligible transaction for trading of agricultural commodity derivatives carried out in a recognized stock exchange, whether or not CTT is charged. So for agricultural commodities, CTT may or may not be charged. Very interesting that derivative which in principle is 100% pure speculation is classified as non-speculation. Everywhere they have talked of the word eligible transaction, eligible transaction, eligible transaction. What is eligible? In case of derivatives, eligible transaction means what? Transaction is carried out in a recognized stock exchange. Today it is done through RSCs usually. Electronically, also automatically true. On screen-based systems through a broker who is registered, or the transaction is done by a bank or by a mutual fund. And the transaction is supported by a time-stamped contract note. Contract note पे time भी होना चाहिए, date भी होना चाहिए. Having unique client ID and PAN. Now today, 100% derivative trading satisfies all the conditions. So practically, as long as it is done on the recognized stock exchange, it will always be eligible. But now the real question is, why this fight? ये मारामारी क्यों है? डेरिवेटिव है, सॉरी स्पेकुलेटिव है या नॉन स्पेकुलेटिव है? सी, जब तक प्रॉफिट है, नो प्रॉब्लम. इनकम टैक्स इज नॉट बॉदर्ड, यू आर नॉट बॉदर्ड. स्पेकुलेशन है या नॉर्मल बिजनेस प्रॉफिट है, टैक्सिंग इज सेम. Problem is in loss. If there is a speculation loss, chapter 6 of income tax, which deals with set off of losses, says speculative loss cannot be set off against normal business income. तो normal business income के against आप speculative loss set off नहीं कर सकते. So imagine I am doing manufacturing. From manufacturing, I earned 100 lakh. Speculation, there is a loss of 120 lakh. Net result is you have an overall loss of 20 lakh. But sorry, 120 lakh ignore करेंगे, carry forward होगा. This year you will have to pay tax on 100 lakh totally. That 120 cannot be set off against normal business income. That is the reason why we are spending so much time in understanding what is speculation and what is not speculation. Are we comfortable with this point? Okay. And then we talk of this one word, business losses. Business loss should not be mixed up with business expenditure. Expenditure is a different concept. Loss is a different concept. They are not the same. जब मैं loss की बात कर रहा हूं और business expenditure की बात कर रहा हूं, they are not the same transaction. They are totally two different concepts. When I spend some money for my business, I incur some expenditure for my business. It is a business expenditure. And business expenditure in income tax is given under section 37. So under section 37, I am allowed to claim a deduction for a business expenditure. But sometimes you have a business loss. For example, you purchase goods for 100. Suddenly, due to some reason, the market price has crashed to 80. And you were forced to sell them at a lower than purchase cost. This was a business loss. Or the cash was defalcated by the cashier. आपकी दुकान में कैशियर 5 लाख लेके भाग गया. This is not an expenditure. वो वाउचर छोड़ के गया to robbery committed by me, साइन करके चला गया, ऐसा तो नहीं है. तो ये चोरी हो गई. It's a business loss. Question आता है, business loss is covered by which section? Because if I read section 29 to 44, they all talk of expenses, allowances, disallowances. Nowhere provision is there for business loss. So actually we have to read section 28(1), profits and gains. And the law says profits can be positive or negative. Income includes loss. So business loss is not covered by section 37. Business loss is covered by section 28. So section 28 governs business losses. not section 37. 37 deals with business expenditure. Now, if there is a loss in business and it is a trading loss which is incidental to your business, it will definitely be allowed. As I told you example, situation 1, I have sold my goods at lower than cost. Situation 2, during your business, आपके one of the staff members ने stock या cash की चोरी की, incidental to business, yes, definitely will be allowed. But a capital loss will not be allowed. For example, a plant and machinery is destroyed. Capital asset is destroyed. There is a loss in your business, yes. Can this loss be treated as a business loss? No. Though it is a business loss, since it's capital in nature, you will have to go to topic of capital gain. This will not be covered under business at all. तो बिजनेस में इसका डिडक्शन आपको नहीं मिलेगा. So loss here you have to understand means the damage, disadvantage which is caused by losing something. Whereas expenditure is spending the money or using the money. So there is a difference between a loss and an expenditure. So business loss आपको मिलेगा कब? It is trading in nature and in connection to your business. If it is not in relation to your business, will we allow the loss? No. Take for example, you gave 5 lakh rupees to your friend. दोस्ती में 5 लाख रुपए दे दिए. He never gave you back the money. You wrote off the loss. Yes, it's a loss, but is it incidental to your business? No. We cannot allow the deduction. Since it is not incidental to business, no deduction will be permitted. Comfortable? Okay. Now, with that background, we now go to the computation process. Right? Now we start the discussion of computation. Now we have a base ki what all sorts of income are supposed to be covered under business, what is not supposed to be covered under business profession. Okay? Now, I look at a transaction, I know this transaction should be hit by business profession. Now let me calculate the income. So calculation is given by section 29. 29 is your very typical government officer section, government babu section. It says if you want to understand calculation, read section 30 to 43D. मुझे क्यों पूछा? आप गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस में जाओ, साहब ये किधर है? अगले काउंटर पे देखो, मुझे मालूम नहीं. दो ही नोज वेयर इट इज. अगले काउंटर पे बोलते उधर देखो, और फिर आधा घंटा घूमने के बाद फर्स्ट काउंटर पे आंसर मिलता इधर ही आना था. वेरी कॉमन सिचुएशन. दिस इज एग्जैक्टली हाउ section 29 behaves. It says if you have to compute business profession, read the provisions of section 30 to 43D. Fine. We are now going to go to sections 30 to 43D. Now when we go from sections 30 to 43D, broadly speaking, we are going to divide our discussion into 3 areas. Which 3 areas? We will be first dealing with deductions, which are governed by sections 30 to 37. Deductions means certain expenses which are specifically allowed as a deduction. Then we will deal with various disallowances. There are many sections of disallowances. And then we will deal with the deemed incomes concept. These are the broad 3 categories: deemed incomes and special provisions. Certain types of income have some special provisions we shall see separately. But first concentration shall be on specific deductions which are listed out in section 30 to section 37. 30 to 37 deal with these specific deductions. Okay, let's look at these one by one. First deduction. And before I go to the deductions, let us also logically understand something very important. business profession is entirely based on your accounts. Computation is based on your profit and loss account or income and expenditure account which we prepare. उसके basis पे पूरा computation होता है. So this computation has to be connected with your P&L. So usually when I am talking of business profession, I will go through my P&L and my start point will be net profit as per profit and loss account. I go through the debit side items which are there in my P&L. Each line I will ask, is this expenditure correctly debited? If yes, no problem. If it is wrongly debited, if it is prohibited by the law, disallow. Disallow matlab kya? Add back to your net profit. Then I read the credit side of P&L and see if the income is a business income. Maybe it is not a business income. I have to reduce from business, add in some other head. Or it is exempt from tax, so I have to reduce totally from here. So if something is not taxable under business profession or it is exempt, I will now subtract. Then I will check, is there any deduction which is not claimed in my P&L, which is legally permissible, but I have not claimed in P&L, that I will subtract. Is there any income which is taxable under business, which is not shown in my P&L, that I will add. That's it. That's the end of the story of business profession. Computation is that simple. Read the debit, add the wrong items. Read the credit, less the wrong items. Whatever you have forgotten on debit, claim. Whatever you have forgotten on credit, add. So that is the simple 4 categories of adjustments we can say which are connected with our business profession. Comfortable? So, first deduction we have here is rent, rates, taxes, repairs, insurance for building. Now, most of the business deductions, except 2-3, are logical. Logical, there are few deductions which are artificial, where you need to really understand. But most of the deductions are so logical that even if you read them once, you will remember them for your lifetime because आपको अलग कुछ करना नहीं. Simple question. You are a businessman. You have a shop. This shop premises, all expenses relating to shop premises like rent, repairs, taxes, insurance, can I logically say it's a business expense? Answer is yes. Even if section 30 was not there, I would still say it's a business expense. So, any rent, rates, repairs, taxes, insurance for a building used for your business profession is permissible as a business expenditure. Only one small but important restriction, and rightly so. And what is that? Repairs will not include capital expenditure. So ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. I have practically done capital additions to the building and I say this is a repair. Repairs will not include capital expenditure. Comfortable? So capital expenditure is not a part of repairs. So this is something we have to remember. Now, let me first go to section 31 and then I'll come back to this some very interesting discussion because that discussion is common to both. Section 31 talks of other business assets, repairs, insurance of other business assets. I have plant, machinery, furniture. Time to time they may be repaired. Time to time I might do insurance of the same. Can I say it is a business expense? Answer is yes. So any repairs and insurance of plant, machinery, furniture is a business expense. Again the same restriction except capital repairs. Capital expenditure hoga, so you are not going to get the deduction. Right. So this is now common whether I am talking of capital, whether I am talking of what do I say, section 30 और 31 दोनों में कॉमन प्रॉब्लम क्या है? कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर वेदर ऑन बिल्डिंग, लैंड, बिल्डिंग, प्लांट, मशीनरी, फर्नीचर नॉट अलाउड. capital expenditure, you will have to capitalize it, you can claim depreciation. No question of claiming a 100% repair deduction. So when we are talking of capital revenue expense, when will I say it is capital? When will I say it is revenue? So here we have to understand that when repairs are to be classified as current repairs, what are these repairs? Repairs which are done on a routine basis. They will include expenses to preserve an existing asset. I am only maintaining the existing asset. थोड़ा खराब हो गया, उसको repair करके ठीक किया. I have brought it back to its normal position. It is current repairs. But if there is a creation of a new asset, addition to an existing asset, enhancement of an existing asset, it will become capital expenditure. तो मेरा existing asset है, I created a new asset, or to my existing asset there is an addition which has happened, that is capital expenditure. For example, I have a factory shed. 10,000 फुट का शेड है. Now, this year I expanded by 4,000 square feet. Or existing shed I expanded. Can I classify it as current repairs? No. It is an addition to the asset. It is not merely a repairs. My office I did repainting this year. By repainting, what has happened? Have I brought into existence a new asset on an addition? No. It is merely preserving my original asset, and this has to fall under the mischief of repairs, current repairs, and not capital. Okay? We have very interesting case laws which are there. A few of these case laws we will be discussing, beginning with this Hari Vignesh Motors case. Okay? These various case laws are there on your page number 76 onwards. Okay? So, pay attention to the discussion out here. Now, as far as the cases are concerned, when I'm talking of the case of Hari Vignesh Motors. Now, in Hari Vignesh Motors case, what happened? Something very interesting, and that was the assessee was a distributor of this dealer of this TVS Suzuki motorcycles. So TVS Suzuki की dealership थी इनके पास two wheelers की. So what Hari Vignesh Motors did, they were told by Suzuki that you have to have your own showroom. Fine. So they took a premises on rent. Lease पे एक premises ले ली. The basement floor was there. On top of it, the assessee constructed a ground floor as per the specification given by TVS Suzuki. And assessee, that is Hari Vignesh Motors, they claimed 100% deduction as a current repairs. Assessee ने क्या claim किया? पूरा जो floor बनाया वो current repairs में claim किया. Case came up for scrutiny. During the assessment, assessing officer argued, see, what you have done is basically a new asset has come into existence, and therefore you can capitalize it and claim deduction for depreciation. 10% depreciation rate is, so I am disallowing 90% of expenditure, but I will allow 10% depreciation. This is the stand of AO. Assessee said, property is a leasehold property. Even though I am constructing the building out here, the one floor I am constructing out here, it is not mine. Ownership of this property belongs to somebody else. 5 साल, 10 साल, 20 साल जब lease खत्म होगा, the land along with the building will go back to the landlord. So there is no asset coming into existence in my name. This money is spent once and for all, and I am not going to get it back. So therefore this should be treated as a revenue expenditure. Very interesting arguments. Matter had to go to the High Court, and therefore when it went to the High Court analyzed these facts, and they said the assessee did not acquire any capital asset by incurring the expenditure. As per the lease deed, reimbursement of these expenses from the landlord is also not possible, and therefore expenses were revenue in nature and were allowed. Okay. But a word of caution on this. Word of caution. Caution क्या है कि देखिए in section 32 which we'll be seeing after this, section 32 depreciation जो है, in the depreciation provisions it is clearly mentioned that if you take a property on lease and you make some permanent additions on the same, you are allowed to claim depreciation even though you are not the owner of the basic building or the basic land. This is given in section 32. There is explanation given. Fine. But then, assessee का क्या कहना है? That's an option. That is an option. That is not a compulsion. ये compulsion नहीं है. It's merely an option. And since it's an option, I am not bound by it. मुझे compulsion थोड़ी है कि ये करना ही चाहिए. There is no compulsion that I should do this. This was the stand taken by the assessee. Okay. Now, having said this, what will you and me do in real life is something important. To be on the safer side, if you want to avoid litigation, capitalize this expense, claim depreciation. No one will question you about this, because this is crystal clear, permitted. Hari Vignesh Motors is a risky route. Risky in the sense, you may get the relief, but you will have to do litigation. Because trust me, no officer is going to allow this. Even at CIT, appeal level will be difficult. Kam se kam aapko tribunal tak minimum, you will have to fight it out. So be ready for litigation if you want to take that view. Because section 32 gives you an option. But doesn't mean this door is closed. So you will find this question, if it comes in the exam, you will find two answers in the suggested. In one suggested answer, it will be full deduction. Alternate solution, only depreciation is allowed. But both answers are equally correct. Point understood? Hari Vignesh Motors. Then another judgment we have on similar points is in the case of escorts finance. In the escorts finance concept, what had happened? Let's go through the facts. Assessee company had taken a property on lease. It incurred expenditure on providing wooden partitions. So office space lease pe le li. They constructed the wooden partitions, painting, glass work, other petty repairs on the lease premises. Claimed it as revenue. AO disallowed. Commissioner allowed. Tribunal allowed. Department went in High Court कि ये कमिश्नर ने गलत किया, ट्राइब्यूनल ने भी गलत किया. We want to fight. High Court observed, and this is important, expenses of the above nature incurred by assessee to make the premises workable has to be considered as revenue expenditure. The manner in which the leased premises is to be maintained and the extent of repair work is to be decided by businessmen. लीज प्रॉपर्टी पे कितना खर्चा करना है ये बिजनेसमैन ने सोचना है कि whether he should spend huge amount or small amount, that's his problem because that money is going to go forever. The court said all this is to be treated as revenue expenditure since the repairs were not of enduring nature to classify them as capital. Very, very interesting principle. Are we clear with these two principles out here so far? Then we had another very interesting point on this repairs versus capital expenditure, current and capital. And that was a Supreme Court judgment in the case of Sarvanna spinning mills. Now, what happened in this Sarvanna spinning mills was the assessee, as the name suggests, was having a factory, a spinning mill. This spinning mill, they had a machine. The machine was known as ring frame. Ring frame नाम का एक machine था. The machine got damaged. They replaced the machine and claimed 100% as repairs. Assessing officer said this is capital expenditure. Assessee claimed this is a current repairs. And the logic of the assessee was, my textile unit is all integrated connected units. This machine connects to the next to the next to this, is all a continuous thing. So basically the entire, all the set of 10 machines together is one machine. This is what the argument was made, and therefore what I have replaced is not the full machine, a part of the machine. And replacing of a part or a spare part is a repair, it is not a capital. Matter went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court took an expert report from a person who understood the spinning mills. And they asked him about what does the ring frame do, how does it work. And the conclusion was, on facts, that a ring frame is an independent machine capable of standalone operations. So, it is an independent machine capable of standalone operations. So, you cannot say you have replaced a spare part, you have replaced the entire machine. And since you have replaced the entire machine, it is a capital expenditure. You cannot classify this as current repairs. Similar case was there in the case of Mangaya Karasi Mills, identical judgment of the Supreme Court. Same issues were there. They had replaced one full machine. They claimed that's current repairs. Once more the court said it's a separate and independent machine. So not current repairs. This is capital expenditure. So here we find that if I am trying to, what we can say, sum up the various situations of capital versus revenue, what all factors can I broadly identify? See, if I look at these case laws and our discussion, 3 points come to my notice. 3 critical points. These points are not given in any section, but these are the points which are coming out, summarizing from our discussion. First factor is ownership. By incurring the expenditure, are you going to get ownership of the asset? You will see Escorts Finance, Hari Vignesh Motors. They won the case on what ground? No asset is coming into existence in our name. Therefore, ये हमारा asset है ही नहीं, no capital expenditure. Another point which we discussed, is it a replacement of the whole or of a spare part? Am I replacing the full machine or a spare part of the machine? If I replace the whole machine, capital. Part, it is, what you can say, current repairs. Am I incurring expenditure to maintain or preserve the existing asset? Or is it an addition to the asset? So based on these 3 common tests, because it's not that any one test will be applicable always. You will have to apply multiple tests to see which your case fits into which category. Let me ask you a few questions. Okay? You have a bike. You replace the tire of the bike. Capital or revenue? Revenue. पूरा टायर बदला, पार्ट नहीं बदला. But the tire is a part of the entire bike, and therefore replacement of the tire is very clear, a replacement of a spare part and not the full machine. It is revenue expenditure. Perfect. There is a hotel, 5-star hotel. It has got a plush carpets. You put your leg, it literally sinks in. Very nice carpet is there. Beautiful. After a few years, this carpet खराब हो जाता है. People walk, obviously the carpet will get damaged over a period of time. So the hotel removed the old carpet, replaced it with a brand new one. पुराना carpet हटा दिया, नया carpet लगा दिया. Old gone, new came in. Capital revenue. Again, I say there's nothing right wrong. You don't have to worry. This is not the exam. Whatever you think, you have to just say aloud, think aloud, so that we can immediately proceed with the discussion. Revenue. Why? पूरा कारपेट चला गया, अब नया लगा दिया ना उधर. There is no new asset created. Okay, then what has happened? What has happened? Earlier you had a carpet with a certain quality. Old carpet has now gone damaged due to wear and tear. By replacing it, you are bringing back the original functionality of a carpet. Right? So therefore, this will still be a revenue expenditure, not a capital expenditure. Things become very interesting. Take another case. As a taxpayer, you have a factory. It has got a tin roof, asbestos roof. But you know, asbestos roof is not supposed to be used. It causes problems. And once your company was made aware that you are not supposed to use it, this causes problems for your workers. Usme leakage bhi chalu ho gaya. So you remove the tin roofs and you replaced it with plastic coated tin roof, metal roof laga diya, which has much better life also, much better quality also as compared to earlier roof. Capital revenue. And we are not talking numbers, because numbers are always confusing. Because usually we think big amount capital, small amount revenue. Let's not go into that. So, पुराना roof निकाल दिया, नया roof लगा दिया. Capital. Why? Why not revenue? You are not only replacing the roof, life of the roof is also getting enhanced. I do not agree with this. It still remains revenue. Because see what happens as time passes, technology evolves. And as technology evolves, the new technology material which is today available may be of a better quality than the original. But what is it giving? The same function of the roof is getting replaced, nothing else. Take another example. You have a computer. Your original computer had a 512 GB hard disk. Hard disk crashed. You went to the market and you found for the same price you are now getting a 2 TB hard disk. Same price you are getting 2 TB hard disk, or 512 तो मिलता ही नहीं, outdated हो गया. Now what? Capacity has gone up 4 times. But does it mean it has now become capital expenditure? No. It is still a revenue expenditure. It is merely a current repair. You are replacing a spare part. But as I said, as technology has updated, you are getting a higher capacity hard disk, because lower capacity hard disks are gone. They no longer are being manufactured. So it is still a revenue expenditure. I hope we are getting these principles correct. So far, are we okay now? Capital, revenue, ये story बिल्कुल सही है. Fine. So you will find that as far as business profession is concerned, the first two deductions we are talking of, section 30 and 31, इसमें actually आपको deduction को याद रखना ही नहीं, because both the deductions are logical. Only what you have to remember is how do I classify capital and revenue. And that's why I said after our discussions and case laws, 3 common points we were able to summarize. That if tomorrow in the exam you have a question, one of these 3 factors will help you to decide the given expenditure is capital or the given expenditure is a revenue expenditure. That will be decided later on. Right? I hope we are all comfortable with this. Yes. Now today we have exhausted our time because we started late. So today we'll end early, and I don't want to start with depreciation, because depreciation flow todna nahi hai. So we'll end a little bit early today. Tomorrow we'll begin with depreciation. Okay. Thank you.